Hi everyone, this is Dustin, the Blind Minnesotan. Today I'm talking about a few cities on the edge of the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro that if you're disabled and you want to have a family and you want to have kids, that you should look into. The first city we're going to talk about today is Champlin, Minnesota. And then the second city we're going to talk about is Anoka, Minnesota. And then we're going to talk about Coon Rapids, Minnesota, and Blaine, Minnesota. These cities we're going to talk to you today do not have a regular city bus. They're like where I live, of course, in Anoka County, I have the 10 bus and the 801 bus, so I can actually get around. While these cities that we're going to talk about today, the only way for you to get around is with Metro Mobility. Metro Mobility, Uber, Lyft, Yellow Cab, those kind of ways. Because the cities we'll be talking today about are at the edge of the metro. So it's hard and most of the people on the edge of the metro, like Champlin, Anoka, Coon Rapids, and Blaine, they are all wealthy enough to have cars. So they don't need public transportation to get around. So the only public transportation that they have is ride sharing like Uber, Lyft, and Metro Mobility. But, it's better than nothing. So let's start off with Champlin. Champlin is it's technically a third or fourth ring suburb of Minneapolis. It depends on which way you're coming from it. If you're coming from it from the Maple Grove and Plymouth side of the metro, it's going to be the fourth suburb away from Minneapolis. But if you're coming from it from the Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center side of Minneapolis, it's the third suburb of Minneapolis. So it depends on which way you're going about it and which way you're thinking. So it also depends on the person you're asking, because if you're coming from the Brooklyn Center side of Minneapolis, that'd be the North Metro. To get to Champlin, you just have to go through Brooklyn Center, through Brooklyn Park, and boom, you're in Champlin. But if you're coming from, the west part of the metro, like where I used to live in Maple Grove, if you're coming from that part of Minneapolis, you have to go through Robbinsdale, New Hope, Crystal, Maple Grove, and then Osseo, and then you end up in Champlin. So, because those towns are smaller. Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center, they're such big towns and such big cities that they sometimes, you can fit 5 or 6 other suburbs in them. So if you lived in southern Brooklyn Center and you had to drive to Champlin, the time it will take you to get to Champlin, it's like you driving to 3 or 4 small suburbs. So it takes a lot of time still, because Champlin's at the edge of the metro. So it'd be kind of like you worked in downtown St. Paul, or like you worked in downtown Minneapolis or around Minneapolis. Champlin is the furthest north you want to go, because if you go more north than Champlin, at that point you should not even be working in the Twin Cities metro area, in my opinion. But now let's talk about it. Champlin is a newer city. So when you drive into town, you have a Target, you have a Cub Foods, you have an Aldi's, you have a movie theater, you have a Broadway Pizza, you have a Culver's, you have a McDonald's, you have the Champlin High School, you have a bunch of senior apartments, You have bunch of senior condos. You have a bunch of single family homes. You have townhouse developments. It's pretty much like, a standard American suburb. There's Pizza Ranch, so there's a pizza buffet. And then, there is a walking path that'll take you from the shopping area in Champlin into the neighborhoods behind and around the shopping area. So if you're wheelchair bound or you like to bike as a disabled person, you can easily during the summer when everything's plowed, if you live around the shopping mall, you can easily bike or scooter or wheelchair to everything kind of Champlin. But the issue is once you're to the shopping malls don't have sidewalks. So when I go visit my friend Paul, I will take Metro Mobility from Columbia Heights to Champlin, right? And we'll go to eat at Broadway Pizza. Well, there's sidewalk to the mall that Broadway Pizza's in, but then once you're at the mall, there's no sidewalk getting you from the back of the mall where the sidewalk ends to the front of the mall. So then what I do is I just cut through the parking lot. So when my friend and me met up a few weeks ago at the Broadway Pizza in Champlin, his Metro Mobility bus came earlier than mine. So after he got on his bus, I decided to walk around because, I haven't been in Champlin. I don't go to Champlin every day because everything I need is around me. So why go to Champlin every day? So, so I'm walking around there. Of course, I walk to a strip mall. The sidewalk ends. I have to walk in the parking lot to enjoy the shopping like everyone else. But it's the suburbs. The suburbs are made for cars. So when you're out there, you have to, and you're walking around and doing things, when you're on your scooter, your wheelchair, you just have to watch out for cars because you're in a part of America that's built for the car. So then I go there and I go through the strip malls and all that, and I look and then I walk back to the parking lot right where the sidewalk ends, hop back on the sidewalk and go down the main road. So if you live in Champlin, there's some areas might not have sidewalks or some areas do have sidewalks, but they end right at the shopping mall. And then once you're at the shopping mall, that's when you might have to go onto the side of the road or through the middle of the parking lot, driving where the cars drive to get to your destination, because the suburbs in America are made for cars. And as a disabled person, if you want to be independent in a very car-centric area, you have to become comfortable with being on the roads. So it'd be kind of in Champlin if it snows really bad and you want to get out of the house and they haven't plowed the sidewalks yet. Well, you are going to have to walk on side of the road with all the cars woozing by you. So as you're walking on the side of the road to get where you need to go, you're going to have cars woom, 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 right whizzing right past you. But if you live on the suburbs, that far out, that's one of the consequences of your choice. But the good thing about the living out there is because a lot of people out there have more money than you, so they're not going to rob you or try to steal you or try to kidnap you because they feel, there's the poor, pity, disabled person. And then they'll feel bad for you and they'll just leave you alone. Because when I used to live out in Maple Grove, I used to be walking to work. When I walked to Nordstrom Rack, I would get the pity old ladies that pull over and want to give me a ride because they felt bad for me because I was disabled and I was walking to work. So, and I told them no, thank you, but thanks for the options because, I already was a block away from work and it was a nice day and I actually want to enjoy the nice day before, I'm stuck in the building for 8 hours. So, when I was out in Maple Grove, if I wasn't with my mom, I would have to use my shopping cart to do my shopping in Maple Grove. And then, I would get the Karen looks, saying the mean Karen looks, and but if you're a disabled person and you live out in the suburbs, that's what's going to happen. You mean? So then, and the same thing's going to happen to you out in Champlin. You're going to get some Karen looks like you are a disabled scum who is lowering her property values. But that's just going to happen when you're a disabled person living out in an area like Champlin, because 95% of the people who live out there are not going to be disabled. They're going to be full-time workers that work a 9-to-5 job, and they get paid $22 to $23 an hour. And they bring home anywhere between $1,500 a month to $2,500 a month with their job. And they live in a 5-story house with a 3 to 4 car garage. And when they see you as a disabled person, they see you as less than, because you're not like them. So, I'm just trying to say is, when you go to a suburb like Champlin, it's going to be safer. You're going to have newer for the cost of rent. As much as you pay for rent in Columbia Heights where I live, if you get the same kind of rent out in Champlin, you're going to get a place that's in a better neighborhood that has newer appliances, and the apartments will have newer features than the one I live in here in Columbia Heights. And your neighbors will be more normal people. They're not going to rob from you. They're not going to steal from you. And if you need help, they'll feel bad for you because you're the disabled person. And they will help you out of pity. Yes, it's helping you out of pity, but they'll at least be there to help you. So there's some pros, and then you have major stores like Cubs, Target. If you can scooter, walk, or Metro Mobility too, you can actually have access to fresh produce, fresh things that people in the city do not have access to. Because some disabled people that live in South Minneapolis or North Minneapolis, they don't even have access to a big grocery store like a Target or a Cubs. So they're stuck going to mom and pop bodegas or mom and pop grocery stores, or they're stuck going to co-ops, and where it's a mom and pop grocery store owned by 5 or 6 people, and they don't have everything you need there. Some of the co-ops I went to, when I lived in downtown Minneapolis, that I went to North Minneapolis or South Minneapolis, some of the co-ops or bodegas, they only sell canned items or unhealthy items like chips and all that stuff. And they don't sell any fruits or vegetables because it's hard for them to get that. So then now the people living in that neighborhood, that's their closest grocery store, they're not getting fresh fruit and they're not getting fresh vegetables. You can get canned tomatoes. They had canned tomatoes. But everyone in the world knows canned tomatoes taste completely different and taste worse than fresh tomatoes. So then, at least if you live out in Champlin, and you at least have access to things that a lot of other disabled people don't have access to. So but the issue is, if you're disabled and you live on Champlin, you'll need to find a lot of other disabled roommates to live with. Because living out in Champlin, because everything's so new, all the apartments are new, the rental townhomes are new, the rental single family homes are new. And, so because everything's new, they're going to be charging between $2,000 to $3,000 a month just to live out there. So you as a disabled person, if you want to live out there, you're going to have to find roommates that are also disabled that want to live out there with you. And then you and them with your Social Security can split the rent into 3 or 4 ways, making it actually affordable. That's why a lot of disabled people, they live in non-safe neighborhoods, because non-safe neighborhoods have lower rents. And with lower rents, it makes it easier to survive off your Social Security. So, yep. So then, but at least Champlin, when like you and your roommates are 3 disabled or 4 disabled roommates are living together out there, that because you're probably the poorest one in the neighborhood, you're not going to be targeted by thieves and stuff. So that's the good thing about being poor out there, is because everyone has pity for you because you're just the poor disabled person. Everyone kind of leaves you alone, and sometimes they'll even donate you stuff. So, now I'm talking about like Anoka. Being disabled in Anoka is in Minnesota. It's a suburb, but Anoka does not have the major shops and stuff like Champlin does. Anoka is pretty much like Anoka is pretty much one of the oldest cities in Minnesota, because when the French settlers first came to Minnesota, they opened up 3 trading posts on the Mississippi River. One was St. Cloud, second was Anoka, and third was kind of like Stillwater. And then the fourth one was Elk River. So a lot of the towns along the river. So Anoka was one of the original towns of Minnesota. So Anoka, when it was built, it has like a main street. I call it Main Street Anoka, or Downtown Anoka. And Downtown Anoka has a lot of bars, restaurants, and stuff. But Anoka is mostly single family homes, and then the bars and restaurants in the downtown part. But Anoka was built at a time before cars. So most of the neighborhoods in Anoka have sidewalks. So because most of the neighborhoods were built in Anoka before cars, if like you need to get to the downtown area to hang out at the restaurants and stuff, you can easily walk there or bike there. You don't have to worry about walking on the road, because Anoka has, sidewalks. And if they don't plow them right away, if you need to go walk on the side of the road, the traffic of people in Anoka is less than the traffic in Champlin. So if like you're going to walk on the side of the street in Anoka, there's a less of a chance of you getting hit and killed than you walking on the side of the street in Champlin, if the streets are not plowed. And also in Anoka, you do have Metro Mobility that can help you get to Champlin or help you get to Coon Rapids. And Anoka, they do have one grocery store, and it's on Coon Rapids Boulevard. It's called Mike's Discount Foods. It's not really a big grocery store. It's kind of like a bodega size grocery store, but it's a good place if you don't want to go all the way to Coon Rapids or Champlin with Metro Mobility, to get food. But Anoka has one good thing that Champlin does not. Anoka also has a city bus. It takes you from downtown Anoka, where the bars and stuff are, to the major shopping mall in Coon Rapids. So, and also the good thing is, because Anoka is so old, Anoka has a lot of affordable housing for the disabled community. So the good thing is, if you, for example, you live in Anoka, and it's safe because it's a suburb. A lot of people live in single family homes. They own their homes because it's a suburbs, but they still have a lot of really old apartment buildings for disabled people to live in. So, because when the city was first being built, when it was a trading post, the French built a lot of apartments in the city of Anoka. So yes, your apartments in Anoka are going to be old compared to apartments in Champlin, but but the good thing is at least it provides affordable housing to the disabled community that's living off Social Security. So what's funny is as you're in downtown Anoka, and you can actually, when you're standing on the Anoka side, you can actually look over the river and see the Champlin side. So so the funny part is, so on the Anoka side, you see all these old buildings, old apartments, old strip malls, old. And then when you will get to the Mississippi River, and then you will look over the river, on the Champlin side, you'll see apartments, new apartments, new apartments, new apartments, new apartments, new apartments. So on the Champlin side, you'll see from the Anoka side, you'll see all these new apartments coming up. And all these luxury homes, all these luxury townhomes, all on the Champlin side of the river. But on the Anoka side of the river, you'll see all these old ancient apartments, these old ancient structures built by the French during a long time ago. So then but the good thing about all these ancient buildings is a lot of young people with money don't want to live in them. So then property developers have to lower the rent to attract disabled people and senior citizens living on Social Security that have no choice. So then you can actually afford to live there, and you can have a nice quiet suburb that has sidewalks, that's safe, has a hospital, has one grocery store, Mike's Discount Foods, but it's not a big grocery store, but at least you can get something there, so you're not going to starve. And it's all connected by sidewalk and stuff because it was built before cars. It's a very nice place for disabled people to live. If I didn't choose Columbia Heights, I would have moved to Anoka. Because in Anoka County, I was torn between two cities. I was torn between Columbia Heights and Anoka. The only reason why I chose Columbia Heights over Anoka was because Columbia Heights has better public transportation access than Anoka. But if you're one of those people who just rely on Metro Mobility and ride sharing, and you don't really take the city bus like me, Anoka is like a really good spot for you to live. Anoka does have a city bus, but it's only one, and it goes from the downtown Anoka where all the bars and stuff are, goes down Coon Rapids Boulevard, and Coon Rapids Boulevard has once you get into Coon Rapids, you definitely know when you're going down Coon Rapids Boulevard when you're in Coon Rapids, because after you pass Mercy's Hospital and you go south and you go into Coon Rapids, you'll see all the new apartments, you'll see the big hospital, you'll see Anoka Ramsey Community College, and you'll see all these big, wealthy, massive homes. And then after that, you'll see the big shopping center. And then the bus ends. It goes through the massive shopping center in Coon Rapids, and then you see more single family homes as you enter into Blaine. And then the bus drops you off at the North Town Mall in southern Blaine, where then you can hop on the 10 bus, the bus route I live on, to again get to downtown Minneapolis. So Anoka doesn't have a lot of city buses. It only has the one that takes you from the downtown Anoka to the shopping mall in Coon Rapids, and then to the shopping mall in southern Blaine. So then where you can get to downtown Minneapolis. So there's not a lot of city bus traffic up there. But if you live in downtown Anoka in all those old apartments that disabled people can afford off their Social Security, you can easily walk to the station in downtown Anoka, hop on the bus, and then you can get to the shopping area in downtown Coon Rapids. You can do all your shopping there and then take the bus to go back home. And downtown Coon Rapids has a Walmart, a Target, a Cub Foods, a Colburn's, Costco, Sam's Club, Sierra, Ultra Beauty. Like Coon Rapids has like almost all the same stores that Maple Grove does. And then, but if you live in Anoka, getting to Coon Rapids is actually easier to do your shopping than actually taking Metro Mobility and going to Champlin, because the only way to get from Anoka to Champlin is with ride sharing services or with Metro Mobility. And Metro Mobility isn't the most reliable transportation service in the state of Minnesota. So if like you live in downtown Anoka or all the homes around downtown Anoka, I would just suggest you just to take the city bus and go to downtown Coon Rapids, do your shopping and take the city bus back. And then what really helps you do your shopping when you live far away from stores is you get it's called a utility cart. So what a utility cart is, let me walk over to mine so I can explain to you. It looks like a giant shopping basket on wheels. You know those shopping baskets you kind of pick up when you're at the store? So pretty much mine looks like a giant shopping basket, but it has wheels on it and a handle. So when I lived in downtown Minneapolis on 9th Street, 9th Street is located between Nicollet Mall and Hennepin Avenue. All the businesses on Nicollet Mall pretty much closed. The Apple Store closed, Marshall's closed, Nordstrom Rack closed, the Apple Store closed when I was living there. So to me, if I wanted to go shopping, I had to take public transportation to the Mall of America in Bloomington, or the big shopping center in St. Louis Park, or the big shopping center in Edina, that'd be Southdale. And I was sick of when I took an hour bus ride and to get there, an hour bus ride back, I couldn't buy a lot of items. So what I did was I bought a utility cart. So when I hop on the bus, I can bring it with me, and then I can get to the bus. I can hop on the bus, go to the shopping mall, and then when I'm shopping at the store I want to shop at, I can put the things I want to buy into my utility cart. And then I take it to the cash register, buy the stuff I need, load it back into my utility cart, and then I push it. Then I can push my stuff to the bus. I wait for the bus. The bus lowers down the ramp, so I can push my shopping cart / utility cart onto the bus. And then the first 3 rows on the left and right side of the bus, those seats can fold up, and then wheelchair users can sit there in their wheelchairs. What I do is I go to that spot, I fold up the seat, and I stand there with my shopping cart, and I hold on to the straps that are on the ceiling on the bus. And then I just stand on the bus with my shopping cart. And then / utility cart. I call it a shopping cart because it makes normal people who can drive feel less uncomfortable. Because if you say, oh, haha, I'm using a utility cart, it'll make normal people who drive feel uncomfortable. So technically it's a utility cart. Amazon calls it a utility cart, but technically I call it a shopping cart. It's around normal people who can drive and shop normally in an American society because they have a car. So then I get home and the guy lowers down the wheelchair ramp. I push it out off the bus, and then I push it home. And me getting this utility cart that I like calling a shopping cart around normal people actually made my life shopping in the suburbs easier. So if you live in Anoka and you want to do like your shopping in like Coon Rapids, you want to buy a utility cart. And when you buy a utility cart, the more money you spend on it, the better. Because if you spend $20 on a utility cart, it's going to suck compared to if you spend $300 on a utility cart. And I advise you to buy the most expensive utility cart that you can on your budget, because the more expensive utility cart that you buy, the more groceries and more stuff it can hold before it breaks. Because when I bought my first utility cart, I bought a $79 utility cart, and the brakes, it had like block brakes on it, so I can use it on the bus and stuff. It just broke easily because it couldn't hold a lot of weight, and it just broke easily. But but after that one broke, I bought like a $150 utility cart, and that one has been working with me for the last 3 years. So it's worth spending a lot of money on a utility cart. So then, I would do my shopping in the suburbs of St. Louis Park, Edina, or Bloomington, or Brooklyn Center. And then I'll load up my utility cart, and then I'll use it to take all my items home. So if like you live in Anoka, and you take the city bus or Metro Mobility, you want to get a utility cart because it'll make your shopping so much easier. Because of Metro Mobility, when you take your utility cart, they'll lower down the wheelchair ramp. You can push it on, and then they'll put it up, and then they'll strap your utility cart onto the bus. But when you're booking your rides over the phone, you want to tell them, hey, I'm bringing a utility cart. And you want to say it's the size of a small box, and then they'll tell the driver that, so then the driver can save room for your utility cart when Metro Mobility picks you up. So I'm a city bus person because I like the city bus, because the city bus, when the schedule says they're going to be there at that time, they're normally 10 minutes late or 10 minutes early. So that's why, I always tell people, when you take the city bus, you want to be at a bus stop up to 10 minutes early, because sometimes the bus comes 10 minutes early, or sometimes the bus comes 10 minutes late. It depends on traffic with the cars. And then, so Anoka is a good place to live if you're disabled. It's one of the best outer ring suburbs for you to live in if you're disabled. But the only negative is the city bus out there comes every 2 hours. So if you plan to leave Anoka and you go to Coon Rapids to do your shopping, or Southern Blaine, just remember that they're going to be there for 2 hours. And if you miss it, you'll be waiting there for another 2 hours. So you just want to remember to be at the city bus on time. So then, be there 10 minutes early. So then, you can easily get where you need to go. And you should be fine. So then you now have the city of Coon Rapids. Coon Rapids is kind of mixed, because Coon Rapids is a very car-centric city. When I go to Coon Rapids, I always have to be paranoid of not being ran over, because Coon Rapids is a very, very car-centric city, because it's in a suburb. So if you move to suburbs, that's what you need to expect. And so it's funny is Coon Rapids is one of those cities where they have sidewalks around the strip mall, but the sidewalk will end right in the middle of the parking lot in the shopping area. So then the sidewalk literally ends right next to a parked car. So then from there, that's when you have to walk through the parking lot. Or I hate the strip malls that have the long skinny road. So the sidewalk will end right at the long skinny road, and then you have to walk down the long skinny road that can barely fit one car to get in the mall. So then you're walking as close to the curb that you can, and then you hear cars woom woom barely missing you. as you're trying to walk down this skinny like driveway to get into the mall. And then you finally get into the mall, and then like you get into this big parking lot, and like you're like, yes, I survived. And then you're happy that like you lived. And then then you go there, and then like you can go to the stores and stuff, and then on the way out, then you have to go back down this skinny little exit way, because when they built the mall, they didn't expect disabled people to go shopping there. So they didn't build a nice sidewalk from the sidewalk main road up to the mall, because they were thinking, oh, why would people on Social Security and don't have a car, why would they go shopping? So that's what's going through these developers' heads. So then when you're leaving the mall, you just have to pray that no one hits you and kills you with their car. And then like you get back to the sidewalk. And then some strip malls in Coon Rapids that have major stores like Costco or Target or Walmart don't even have a sidewalk to them. So then the sidewalk's on the other side. So then to get to that mall, you have to kind of jaywalk. So you have to go from the sidewalk on the one end to the concrete medium. And then you have to go from the concrete medium to the grass on the other side. And then you have to cut through the grass to get to the parking lot. So Coon Rapids is kind of the shopping mall in Coon Rapids. It's not the most accessible. So, and then sometimes the city bus will drop you off right next to the mall. So yay, I can get there, and there's a sidewalk around the mall. But there's no sidewalk getting you from the sidewalk around the mall to the mall. And then that's when you have to walk down those skinny entry driveways and pray that you don't get hit. Even if you're a scooter, I see people with wheelchairs and scooters going on the side of the entry roads, just like me walking. And be lucky they're in a scooter, so they're in a bright red scooter, or a bright yellow scooter, or a bright blue scooter, where cars can see them easier than a human like me, who's like skinny. It's not okay. I'm fat, and according to human standards, but to a car, I'm skinny and tall. So so then if like you're in a wheelchair or scooter, you have a higher chance of surviving than me. So then, when you're walking these malls, you just pray, please don't hit, please have me survive, 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 as you're kind of walking into the mall. But once you're in the mall, you have everything you need. I load up my utility cart at the stores in the mall, and then I walk back out the skinny entrance, hoping that no one kills me with my shopping cart as I'm pushing my shopping cart, praying that no one hits me and kills me. And then I get to the bus stop, and then the bus comes and picks me up. So, Coon Rapids, Coon Rapids is very safe. When I go to Coon Rapids, I get pitiful. Hey, sir, do you need $1? Or because everyone feels bad for me because I am the poor disabled person who has to walk to get his groceries with his utility cart. So then, I get a lot of pity stares. I get a lot of Karens. I get Karens that literally walk up to me and say, how dare I lower their property values, and I need to go back to Minneapolis where I belong. So then, I get some Karens. But, as a disabled person living in the suburbs, you expect that. You just expect Karens. Just expect Karens. If you're a disabled person, you move out to the suburbs and you're not expecting Karens to come and target you, I'm sorry to say you're dumb. So then but if you're able to walk, if you feel comfortable like what I do, and you're willing to put up with what I do, Coon Rapids isn't a bad spot. Or you can be more normal and take Metro Mobility to get to places in Coon Rapids. A lot of disabled people that can qualify for Metro Mobility to get around Coon Rapids, they just take Metro Mobility. But the reason why I don't take a lot of Metro Mobility is because sometimes just the time it takes for Metro Mobility to pick me up get me someplace, pick me up from that place, and then get me home, it's actually shorter for me. Just time shorter for me just to take the city bus. Because, after they pick me up, there's still 10 people on the bus that they have to drop off. And one might live in White Bear Lake, one might live in Northern Blaine, one might live in Brooklyn Center, and they drop all those people off before they drop me off, and then I'm on the bus for an hour. Well, if I take the city bus, I'm only on the city bus for 20 minutes. So I'm like, I have to debate. Do I want to be on Metro Mobility for an hour to get home? Or do I want to take the city bus and be home in 20 minutes? So if there's a city bus to get someplace out in the suburbs, I prefer the city bus because the city bus is more reliable and to get me home and to get me there faster than Metro Mobility and better than Metro Mobility, in my opinion. So you mean I prefer to take a city bus to Anoka and Coon Rapids and Southern Blaine than Metro Mobility if I have that choice. And I rather just walk on the side of the roads and pray to not get hit by cars than taking Metro Mobility that takes way longer to get places and is not as reliable with public transportation. So that's just me. But everyone else has their own perspective on it. And like my friend Paul, he lives out in Champlin, and he does not mind waiting for Metro Mobility. He does not mind, because Champlin, there's no city bus. So Metro Mobility or ride sharing is his only choice. So he doesn't mind waiting for Metro Mobility and going to all these different suburbs just to head home. So sometimes when they pick him up in Champlin, they'll take him all the way out to Dayton and then take him to Champlin where he lives, because that's the way the Metro Mobility's AI system tells him to take. So then Paul says, and then my friend Paul looks at it as cool, I got to see Dayton today. And then he takes some pictures and he sends me the pictures, and so my friend Paul doesn't mind that. But to me, I'm like, why should I go all the way to Dayton when my house is only 3 blocks this way? I'll just take the city bus and just go 3 blocks south. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. Well, Paul looks at it. My friend Paul looks at it differently. So it also depends on how you look at travel. Do you want to be on an adventure? Like my friend Paul, cool, I got to see this city today, this city today, this city today, just on my way home. Or do you want to be time efficient like me, where you just want to get someplace, do your shit, and go home? And so that makes a difference too on where you live in the suburbs. So if you live in if I want to live in Coon Rapids, I would live on the city bus line, the one that goes from Anoka, downtown Anoka, to Southern Blaine. So that's the bus line I would personally have to live on. So then I can get up to Anoka, get to Coon Rapids, and get to Southern Blaine, where I can get to downtown Minneapolis with the 10 bus. Efficiently by myself. But if you're not so obsessed over the city bus like I am, if you live in Coon Rapids, you could take Metro Mobility, get around. And the Metro Mobility in Coon Rapids because Coon Rapids it's an ADA zone, runs 24 hours a day. So you can go shopping or eating at 1 a.m. If there's a Metro Mobility driver, they'll take you at 1 a.m. If you want to go, if you are having a late birthday party and the party ends at 3 a.m., if Metro Mobility has a driver available, they'll pick you up and take you home at 3 a.m. But the issue with Metro Mobility I don't like is you always have to make an appointment. You always have to know your plans 3 days ahead of time. But with the city bus, if my plans change right now, I can hop and go someplace right now. With Metro Mobility, you have to do so many planning. I feel like my life is so restricted. But each disabled person has their own preference, and you just have to find yours. And now let's talk about Blaine. Now let's talk about Blaine. Blaine is kind of a mixed feeling for me as a city for people with disabilities to live, because it depends on what side of Blaine you live on. If you live on the south part of Blaine by the North Town Mall, that part of Blaine is perfect, because that part of Blaine, you have access to the bus that'll take you from southern Blaine through downtown Coon Rapids, where the shopping mall is there, and then to downtown Anoka, you have that bus. And then you have the 10 bus that'll take you from southern Blaine to downtown Minneapolis. And then you have the bus that I don't remember what bus it is, but it goes from North Town Mall in southern Blaine to the University of Minnesota. It just hops right on University and just goes bloop, right, express bus all the way to the University of Minnesota. And then they have the bus that will take that goes from there, and it'll take you to the Coon Rapids and Anoka North Star train stations, where then you can hop on the North Star train and go up to Big Lake. And then once you're in Big Lake, you can hop on a bus from Big Lake to St. Cloud. So then to me, I like Southern Blaine because of all the public transportation access you get. And then Southern Blaine is also in a 24-hour metro mobility zone. So if you live in Southern Blaine, you can get, as long as there's drivers working that shift, you can get around at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning, and you can get around and do things with Metro Mobility, because Metro Mobility is a 24-hour zone. But Northern Blaine is a different story. So Northern Blaine is above Highway 10. So Highway 10 divides Southern Blaine and Northern Blaine. If you're above Highway 10, it's a different story. Northern Blaine does not have good city bus routes. Once you move to Northern Blaine, you have to above Highway 10, you really just have to rely on Metro Mobility and ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft, because up there's not enough. There's a lot of wealthy people up there that have cars, and because they have cars, they don't need public transportation, and because they don't need public transportation, the city of Blaine doesn't just invest anything up there. Northern Blaine is also 24-hour-a-day Metro Mobility service. So if you decide to live in Northern Blaine, you can easily, still travel around, but it's not going to be as easy or reliable as if you lived in Southern Blaine, down by the North Town Mall. But Southern Blaine is it's not very accessible, but it's more accessible than Coon Rapids and Anoka. So Southern Blaine is kind of weird because, there is 5 shopping centers in Southern Blaine. There's the North Town Mall, and the North Town Mall does not have good sidewalks. The North Town Mall is one of those suburbs where it's where the sidewalk just goes around the mall. So you can easily walk around the mall if you want to follow the sidewalks, but there's no sidewalks that take you to the mall. So when you get off at the North Town Transit Center, to get to the mall, you actually have to walk through the mall's parking lot to get to the mall. But if you want to get to the Walmart, the Target, the Cubs, the Home Depot, the Barnes and Noble, the Big Lots, you can walk from the transit station to a sidewalk, and the sidewalk that goes around the mall has crosswalks that will take you to the strip malls around the Northtown Mall. But what's funny is, once you get across those crosswalks, the sidewalks kind of end. So the other day I went over there to go to Big Lots. So I got off at the Northtown Mall, the Northtown Transit Station. I call it the Northtown Mall Transit Station because technically people just take it to go to the mall. But the real name is called the Northtown Transit Station. I went there. I had to walk to the sidewalk. I walked around the mall because Big Lots is on the other side of the mall. Got there, crossed the crosswalk to get to the strip mall that Big Lots is in, walked across the crosswalk, and right when I get to the other side, the sidewalk ends with a concrete platform. So then when you're on that side, that's when I had to go. I had to walk in the small, skinny, snake-like road entrance to get into the mall. So then the strip mall. So then I'm walking on the side of this skinny snake entrance for cars to get into the mall and the strip mall. And then I'm just praying, and I have my utility cart / shopping cart with me, and I'm carrying it, and I hear cars vroom, 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 vroom right past me. Because remember, this is a suburb. If you're disabled and you live in the suburb, this is a possibility. And then I get to the thing. I found what I want at Big Lots. I put it in my shopping cart / utility cart. It's really a utility cart. And then, then I walk out through the skinny, exit for cars. I don't know how cars can fit in the exit because it's so skinny. And then, I go down there and I get to the concrete platform. And then I used it to cross the road back to the Northtown Mall side of the platform. So at least it has more sidewalks than Coon Rapids does. It has way more sidewalks than Coon Rapids does. The Northtown Mall shopping area and the strip malls around it have way more sidewalks than Coon Rapids does. But the funny part is, it has more traffic. More car traffic. So then you have to kind of be more careful because of the cars, because the Northtown Mall in southern Blaine is in a more heavily populated area than Coon Rapids is. The shopping mall in Coon Rapids is. So then as long as you listen and you watch and you're careful and you take your time, you'll be okay. But the good thing is, a lot of disabled people just rely on Metro Mobility. So if you take Metro Mobility around, you'd be there, you get there fine because Metro Mobility is hopping in a car. But a lot of times when I go to Northtown Mall, I normally go to every single strip mall outside the mall because the Northtown Mall is very small and it doesn't have the things I need. Most of the things I need are in the strip mall outside the Northtown Mall. So then, I take the 10 bus to the Northtown Mall and then I walk on the sidewalk that goes around the Northtown Mall. And then I go to all the strip malls, that are around the Northtown Mall because that's where the Barnes & Noble is. That's where the Big Lots is. That's where, the Dollar Tree is, you know what I mean? The Dollar General is, the Walmart, the Target, the half-price books, you mean things I like are normally in the strip malls around the mall. But so normally when I cross the mall side to the strip mall side, 95% of them is the crosswalk ends at a concrete island. And then once you're on the concrete island, you have to go onto the side of the road or cut on the one that goes into that strip mall, or you have to cut through the grass. Because, when they were building these malls, they were not thinking about, a bunch of disabled people living off Social Security that can't drive will want to shop here. They were not thinking about us when they designed that mall. But the Northtown Mall is still more... that area in southern Blaine is still more accessible, in my opinion, even if you have to walk on side of the road sometimes, than the strip malls in Coon Rapids. But that's just my take. But if you go to northern Blaine, like half of northern Blaine, the neighborhoods don't even have sidewalks. So you'll have these big, like 5-story, 6-story homes. And the only way to get into their neighborhood is by driving or by walking on the side of the road. So then, like, to me, I'm one of those people, I'll say, F it, I'll just walk on side of the road, because I'm one of those disabled people. I'm not going to let having no sidewalk deter to tell me that I can't go into a neighborhood, because my taxes in Anoka County pay to maintain that road. And fine, if you're not going to give me a sidewalk to walk on that road, I'm going to walk on the side of the road, because I want to see what my taxes are paying for. So then, I walk down that road, and I kind of take pictures. I see the neighborhood. Then I post those pictures on Instagram, so then you guys can be able to see it without needing to risk your lives and walk on the side of the road. So like, if like you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is Dustin Lindbergh 2. One big, no spaces, just Dustin Lindbergh, and then the 2 on the keyboard, just hit 2. And then the number 2, and then, and then boom, you'll find me on Instagram, and then you'll see the pictures I post, the videos I post of these neighborhoods that are hard for us disabled people to get to. So if you want to go follow me on Instagram, I don't care. But I post pictures and stuff that of neighborhoods and of places that are hard for disabled people to get to. So then if like you can see, you can scroll through my pictures, and then like you can actually see places of our state that not a lot of people in our community get to see. Because not a lot of people have the ability just to walk around the strip malls of Northtown Mall in Southern Blaine and take a ton of pictures, post them on Instagram, so people can actually see it. Not a lot of disabled people have that opportunity. Because I'm blessed, I have that opportunity. So I want you guys all to go to Dustin Lindbergh 2 on my Instagram if you guys can see it, and then go through the pictures and actually all my pictures and actually see what I see living out here in the suburbs. Because if you guys go through my Instagram, you guys can actually see, because I'm really honest about how living in the suburbs as a disabled person in Minnesota is. So to me, it's very important that you go there and you look. I wouldn't, like, if like you're more chill, like my friend Paul, I would say Northern Blaine's okay if you can find something affordable up there. Because Northern Blaine, above Highway 10, between Highway 10 and Andover, everything's so new up there that's hard to find a place for disabled people to afford there. But if you can, and you're okay with just relying on Metro Mobility and a ride sharing to get you places, go for it. But I'm one of those people where Metro Mobility drives me nuts. So I can't live that lifestyle up there. But up there, they have a Walmart, a Target, a Menards, they have a Home Depot. But up there, they have like gun shops, pawn shops, more Republican, because Northern Blaine above Highway 10, that's where like the Republican part of Minnesota starts. And they have more like Republican like stores up there. Like gun shops, gun shooting ranges, bait shops where like you can buy fishing gear and all that, mechanic stores, like mom and pop mechanic stores up there. So then they have like, but it's also a newer area. So you're not going to get like a lot of thieves. It's a really high income area. So you're not going to be targeted by people. And I would really, really, really recommend it if you're willing to only use Metro Mobility to get around. And be lucky Metro Mobility there's 24 hours a day. So it's good. But I'm only going to say is the further north you go, if you go to those like Champlin, Anoka, Blaine, and Coon Rapids part, like the northern tip of the suburbs, Metro Mobility service gets very sucky. So and because you're at the edge of the metro, and it's not as profitable for them to come pick you up and drive you around as it is because it's more profitable for them to pick me up in Columbia Heights and take me to St. Paul or Minneapolis direction than for me to go north, because the more south towards Minneapolis and St. Paul you go, the more disabled people there is that need to get around. So then per ride, you can pick up more people, and then you can make more money per ride. So Metro Mobility, man, they're all about money. So the more towards town you get, there's more disabled people. And so each ride you take can give them more money. So then they're more willing to pick you up and take you places. The more north you go, there's less public transportation because there's less disabled people and less profitable to businesses to shuttle around disabled people. So just to let you know that when you live up in like that area of Champlin, Anoka, Coon Rapids, and Blaine, you're going to have more frustrations with Metro Mobility than someone like me who lives in Columbia Heights. I live in Columbia Heights, where I'm the first ring suburb of Minneapolis and the third ring suburb of St. Paul. Because I'm kind of like the first ring suburb of Minneapolis and the third ring suburb of St. Paul, I'm kind of squished between Fridley, Minneapolis, and St. Paul, three major cities, so when they come pick me up, I'm profitable, but not as profitable as someone that lives in Minneapolis or St. Paul. So, and then Metro Mobility is late a lot because they hit traffic like cars. The good thing about city buses are when there's a lot of traffic in town, they can drive in special lanes to avoid the traffic. But Metro Mobility, they're not considered a city bus, they're considered a car. So then they're stuck in traffic just like everyone else. I'm blessed that we have Metro Mobility. Like, I use it to go see my friend in Champlin, and I go to use it to go see my brother in Northern Blaine. But, I don't want to use it as my everyday driver, as you get what I'm saying. I use it as a backup option if I need to get places where the city bus does not go or does not go well. So I'm still happy the service exists, but it's not my primary source. And then if I want to go someplace beyond where Metro Mobility can't go, or if I need to go to a place where Metro Mobility says, nope, it's not an ADA zone, we're not taking you because that area is not profitable enough, those are the days I take Uber. So I take the city bus number 1, I take Metro Mobility number 2, and I take Uber and Lyft number 3. And number 4 is if Uber and Lyft won't take me, I just don't go. So, and if I don't have the money, I just don't go. So living where I live, it's kind of cool. It's kind of great. I love Columbia Heights because I have the mixture of suburbia and I have the mixture of city. And, I'm in an older suburb, so houses and all that are more affordable here. So I get a lot of young people my age. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of amazing. And just before you move someplace, you just want to do research. Okay, I'm moving into this low-income apartment for disabled people. What are the options of getting around? Can I bike? Can I walk? Can I take Metro Mobility? Can I take the city bus? Before you just move someplace, you want to do your research. And you want to know, as a disabled person, how can I get around this area? And can I stand it? And then you want to think about how much money is it going to cost me to travel? Because when I almost moved to Anoka, then I thought, okay, if it's snowing and cold and I need to get to downtown Anoka, I'm going to need an Uber. If I'm going to work part-time and I need to take the city bus to work every day, I'm going to need an Uber like 5 days a week. And Ubering costs are this much to get there and back. You mean? Or I have to take Metro Mobility, but Metro Mobility isn't reliable. And this is how much Metro Mobility will cost me to get to this place and back. So then I did the math, and then I figured out it'd be cheaper for me just to live in Columbia Heights. So, so I did the math, and so now I live in Columbia Heights because I still live in the suburbs, and then I still have the buses I need, and it's cheaper for me to live here than Anoka. So then, you have to, and I still live in a suburb. So then, you have to kind of do the math, and can I afford to live here? How can I get around? Where's my closest hospital? Where's my closest grocery store? Can I get to my local grocery store? Can I get to my local hospital? Can I get to my local health clinic? Those are the kind of things you have to be thinking about before you move out to the suburbs. And also, am I willing to be like Dustin, buy a utility cart, hop on a Metro Mobility bus, or hop in a taxi, or hop in an Uber to go places to do my shopping? But most disabled people are more modern and high tech than me. They use Instacart to bring their food, or they still live with their parents, so then they can hop in their parents' cars to go to their local grocery store with their parents. Because most disabled people, they still live with their parents because their parents can drive. And it makes it easier for them. Like, hey, Mom, can you drop me off at work tomorrow? Hey, Mom, can you pick me up at work tomorrow? Or, hey, Mom, I need more food. Can you pick me up and drive me to the grocery store tomorrow? And because they live with their parents, their parents are their way of public transportation. But because I don't live with my parents, it makes it different when you're disabled than if you live with your parents. Like my friend Donovic, he lives up in Anoka, up by Mercy Hospital, and he lives with his dad. He literally has a city bus stop outside his apartment. He literally can walk 5 feet, hop on the city bus that goes from downtown Anoka to southern Blaine, and he can literally hop on that city bus and go anywhere on that city bus. But he chooses not to because it's easier just to go to his dad and say, "Hey, Dad, can you drive me?" And then he can just load up his groceries right into his dad's trunk, and then his dad can drive him back home. And then, boom, he didn't have to worry about standing in the cold. He didn't have to worry about bringing his utility cart. He didn't have to worry about, where's the bus stop for me to get back? How do I get to the bus stop? He doesn't have to worry about all that stuff. And then he doesn't have to worry about scheduling a bus ride with Metro Mobility. He doesn't have to worry about how long it's going to take him to get there with Metro Mobility and how long it's going to take him to get back home with Metro Mobility. He doesn't have to worry about that stuff because his dad can hop in his dad's car, get to downtown Coon Rapids in 10 minutes by car if he takes the freeway, and then do shopping and be back home in 10 minutes. So a lot of disabled people in the suburbs still live with their parents because it's actually easier for them to do their shopping and to do their things and go home because they don't need Metro Mobility or the city bus or Uber or Lyft to get around because their parents are their public transportation. But I don't have that option anymore because my mom and dad and because I have divorced parents, so my real mom and my real dad lives at Otsego where there's no public transportation and no Uber. And my mom lives in Fort Myers, Florida. And the reason why I didn't move with her down to Fort Myers, Florida, because I couldn't live independently there because they don't have good public transportation. So I ended up moving to Columbia Heights. I lived in downtown Minneapolis for a little bit. And, just after my mom went to Florida, my dad didn't want to move into town. He still wanted to be in Otsego. So I moved into downtown where I could afford off my Social Security. Downtown Minneapolis fell apart. So then I moved to Columbia Heights. And I love it here. Because everything I need, I can take the 10 bus, end up at the Northtown Mall in Blaine, where I can take a different bus, end up all the way in Anoka. Or I can take the 10 bus to downtown Minneapolis, where I can get to anywhere I need. Or I can take the 10 bus to Northeast, get off at Northeast, hop on the 32 bus. That'll take me to all the way to Robbinsdale. Or take me all the way to the shopping mall in St. Anthony. Or to the big shopping mall in Roseville. So I live in a spot where, yeah, it takes me time with the bus, but at least I can get places. I can go shopping with all the rich people in Roseville. I can go shopping with the middle class people in St. Anthony. I can go hang out in North Minneapolis, and I can hang out with a lot of the low income people in Robbinsdale. I can hang out with the blue collar workers in Southern Blaine. I can hang out with the blue collar workers in Anoka. I can shop with the rich in Coon Rapids. So I chose Columbia Heights because I have access to all these spots. But you have to find a place that works for you because you are different than me. So I hope that you guys like this podcast episode, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.